This episode wasn't supposed to exist. I had a plan. I was gonna build a homemade 12-volt battery using copper, zinc, salt, and water. Put it together and boom, 12 volts. I had just finished chapter 5 in Make Electronics by Charles Platt. There's this fact in there about using a lemon to power an LED, and I couldn't let it go. I didn't want to just read about it. I wanted to see it, build it, understand what was actually happening. And I wanted to know if we could power more than just an LED by making our own battery. So I started digging and found several viral designs all making the same claim, that copper, zinc, and salt water wired in this specific manner could get you 12 volts. Seems straightforward, except it wasn't. And more importantly, it wasn't true. This stopped being a build video the moment I put the meter on it. It became an investigation. Have you ever wanted to learn something that fascinated you, but had no idea where to start? Maybe you told yourself you weren't smart enough, that you were too old, that you've already failed too many times, or that you needed years of formal education before you could even begin. Here's what I've learned after 25 years of putting that belief to the test. That voice is wrong. Getting good at something isn't a mystery. It's a process. And once you understand that process, you can use it to become capable of things you once thought were out of reach. Over the last 2 decades, I went from deep poverty and dead-end jobs to teaching music, wiring industrial electrical systems, writing production code, and leading multi-million-dollar product launches. No degrees, no connections, no head start. Over time, I realized I wasn't just picking up new skills, I was learning how to learn. Now, I'm sharing the entire learning journey, focusing on engineering, mathematics, drumming, and whatever I decide to take on next. You don't have to care about every subject I learn. The subjects are just the stress test, the thing that makes the process visible. How to start without a curriculum, how to make progress with limited resources, how to know you're actually improving when it doesn't feel like it, how to navigate the frustrations, setbacks, and uncertainty that come with learning something new, and how to keep going until the thing that sparked your curiosity becomes part of who you are. Not so you can follow my path, but so you can build your own and spend more of your life doing things that actually matter to you. If you've ever looked at something challenging and thought, could I really do that? You can. Let's get started. The assumption seemed reasonable. One copper zinc cell in salt water could produce roughly 3/4 of a volt. 16 of them in series should get me to 12 volts. But I was using a word I didn't fully understand. Cell. Because a cell in the context of a battery isn't just a pile of ingredients. A real battery cell is a controlled chemical environment. I thought I had 16 cells. I was wrong. I just didn't know why yet. When two metals with different chemical properties are connected through a wire and placed in an electrolyte, a chemical reaction can begin. In this case, zinc and copper in salt water. Every element holds on to its electrons with a different amount of strength. Zinc is more reactive. It gives up its outer electrons more easily than copper. Copper, on the other hand, is more stable. It holds on to its electrons more tightly, making it a natural partner for zinc in this reaction. When a zinc atom loses electrons, those electrons flow through the wire to the copper. That flow of electrons creates an electrical current. The zinc atom, now missing the electrons it previously gave up, becomes a positively charged zinc ion and enters the salt water. At the same time, ions move through the saltwater electrolyte. Both movements are essential. Without electrons moving through the wire or ions moving through the electrolyte, the chemical reaction quickly stops. The cycle repeats until the chemistry can no longer sustain the reaction. Together, the zinc, copper, and salt water make a complete battery cell. When I measured that cell, it produced about 3/4 of a volt. That part mattered because it proved the chemistry was working. So when I looked at this viral design, nothing immediately felt wrong. One cell produced about 3/4 of a volt. The design appeared to connect the cells in series, which, when done correctly, allows voltages to stack. So I assumed it would. At first glance, these look surprisingly similar. Multiple electrodes and multiple electrical connections in series. It looked like separate cells. But look closely. Can you spot the difference? Because I couldn't. Not at first. In a real battery, each cell has its own electrolyte, its own chemical environment, its own boundaries. In the viral design, every electrode shares the same electrolyte, the same salt water, the same chemical environment. And that turns out to be the entire story. What looked like 16 cells was actually 32 electrodes in a single shared pool. And that changes everything. Remember, a battery cell isn't just zinc and copper. It also includes the electrolyte. So imagine one backyard pool with zinc on one side, copper on the other, and a wire connecting them above the water.
Hey, I invited a couple friends over, but I'm pretty sure nobody's gonna show up.
Works for me.
Wow! This party's amazing! Oh my god, it's so much fun! Woo! Ah! Ah! Woo! 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 Woo!
All right, everybody. Electrons, ions, single file line. Cell 1 over here. Cell 2 over there. Cell 3 this way.
Where's cell 2?
Exactly. Because there is no cell 2 or 3. There's only one pool. But I didn't understand any of that yet. So I built it the way I thought made sense. I cut the pipe, drilled the holes, mounted the zinc rods. I kept the copper and zinc from touching, soldered the connections. I tested continuity. I added salt water, connected everything, grabbed the multimeter, and nothing. Not nothing like 0 volts. Nothing like the numbers made no sense. So I went back through every connection. Maybe the solder joint is bad. Maybe the zinc isn't making good contact. Maybe I missed something obvious. And that part bothered me more than the failed build. Because my first instinct wasn't to question the design. It was to question myself. This is the part of learning nobody films.
Whoop, almost burned myself.
Not the inspiration, not the breakthrough,
Oh no.
not the confident explanation after you've already figured it out.
Okay, I think I just burnt some skin off my hand.
Just you, alone, staring at something that should work, wondering if you're the problem.
Oh boy, there's water everywhere.
The build looked right. The materials were right. The chemistry was happening. But the voltage wasn't stacking. That was the clue. Not the solder, not the wire, not the salt water. The clue was the number on the meter, which meant the question had to change. I stopped asking the wrong question. The wrong question was, why do I suck? The right question was, what assumption did I make that wasn't true? I'd spent years doing high and low voltage electrical work, chasing faults, diagnosing systems, leading crews, and yet, my first instinct was still to question myself. Self-doubt never truly goes away. You just get better at knowing when it's talking instead of the evidence. And the evidence was telling me something. I assumed multiple electrode pairs could share the same electrolyte and still behave like separate cells. They can't. The moment every electrode shares the same electrolyte, they stop acting like independent cells. I didn't build 16 separate cells. I built one shared chemical system. And suddenly, every measurement made perfect sense. This is the lesson I didn't expect to get from a saltwater battery. Sometimes when something doesn't work, it isn't proof that you're stupid. It isn't proof that you're not capable. And it isn't proof that you don't belong here. Sometimes it just means your mental model is incomplete. That's what failure showed me. It didn't show me that I couldn't build it. It showed me I didn't understand it. Yet. The internet makes learning look clean. You see the finished build. You see the confident explanation. You don't see the struggle that happened in between. And that part matters. So this wasn't the episode I'd planned. But it gave me the blueprint I actually needed. Separate cells, separate electrolyte. A real series path. Not one giant saltwater pool pretending to be a battery pack. The first version failed, but now I know why. This episode wasn't supposed to exist, but I'm glad it does. Because this isn't really a story about a battery. It's a story about what happens when something fails, and the first thing you question is yourself. Learning hard things isn't about never doubting yourself. It's about staying with the problem long enough to find out whether that doubt is telling the truth. The battery failed. The curiosity didn't. Okay. Next episode, we build it the right way.